I'm Sarah Hinman. I am here officially representing Idaho State University at the request of Dan Ames to give you guys a bit of an update on his original request was on what's going on with GIS and historical resources management. I took that more as a what's going on in the historical resources management program at Idaho State University and some of the really cool projects that our students have been involved with over the past 5 years, and also to give you maybe a more sophisticated teaser of what one of the other faculty members in my department and I have been attempting to work on for the last 5 years. This is a little bit kind of tying into what Barbara Stevenson and I think a little bit of what Russ Stevenson talked about yesterday, and their kind of affiliation with our program as well, with Barb there as one of our postdoctoral researchers, and I've been an assistant professor in the department for 5 years, since 2007, which is when our MA, our Master's of Arts in Historical Resources Management, I'm talking like an American, and I need to slow down and start talking for a more international audience. I'm sorry, I do kind of get going. I will try and keep an eye on that. So the history of the Historical Resources Management program at Idaho State University actually dates back to 2004, when the faculty in the department at the time realized they needed to find a way to make a history degree, both at the undergraduate and potentially at the graduate level, relevant. Most people, when you graduate in the US at least, with a degree in history go, well, so you're going to go teach high school, huh? So this was a way to make our students marketable outside of just secondary education and some of the more traditional pathways by bringing geographic information systems into both our teaching process in history, but also the study and the research in terms of historical research that can be done at the graduate level. So it was really a way of how do we make a history degree practical. The program itself, this MA in Historical Resources Management, is housed in a history department, and I'm emphasizing this because typically we don't find geographic information systems or science cropping up, being kind of housed in a history program, and it appears in geography, in geosciences, and in other areas at many American institutions. So our program is quite different, and the part of that difference is also stemming from the fact that it was a department of about 7 or 8 historians, and in 2007, the year that we launched our MA in Historical Resources Management, was also my first semester with the department, and that's only significant because they made a very conscious effort to hire somebody with a PhD in geography, which is what I have, and an expertise in working in historical scholarship with the application of geographic information systems, and I've actually been working in that since about 2000. So, since apparently the dawn of MapWindow, which I learned today. So we inaugurated the program in the fall of 2007 with many of the emphases in this program being on training students not only in geographic information systems, but making sure that they have strong foundation in cartography, which in the recent semesters and recent years has cropped up. Actually, one of Dan's graduate students from the MS in GIS program reported back to me this spring. He applied for a job with the US government, and they were thrilled that he had actually taken a course in cartography, the art and science of map making, because they're beginning to notice that a lot of our students coming out of these Masters of Science in geographic information science are lacking a certain amount of map-making skill, and so their maps may show percentage of irrigated cropland in Nebraska in colors ranging from red to orange, which happened in one of my classes, and a friend of mine looked at it and said, oh my gosh, all I can think is emergency, emergency in Nebraska. So things like this, we're trying to train our students to avoid some of those classic errors. But in addition to the technology component, our students are being strongly trained in historiography, so in traditional historical methods of analyzing both secondary and primary sources. And it's a very practical program in that every student who graduates goes out and finds an internship so they actually have practical, real-world experience working in the field of GIS. This sometimes is related to grants that people in our department have. Sometimes we had one student working with a faculty member from another university, and she actually did this all long distance, working on census data, population, some hydrology work. A lot of it's very human-oriented. And other students go out and work with local city or state level organizations. And the other part of our program that makes it quite unique, we offer both a thesis track. Most of our students have ended up going that road, writing the traditional 100-page or so document, and also a non-thesis track that involves still doing a very hands-on, very technologically oriented project. And I'll show you some of the outcomes of those projects momentarily. And so, to date, hope I didn't just zap somebody, we also have added in 2010 an additional track. You know, your average historian gets a little concerned when you start tossing things like points, lines, polygons, spatial analysis. Heaven forbid I introduce statistics in a class. They will all start to inch away or towards the door when I start introducing things as basic as standard deviation. But we always get through it. But some of our students, they like the technology, they like the applied component, but maybe GIS isn't their thing. And so in 2010, we launched a second track. So now our students can choose an emphasis in GIS or an emphasis in what we're referring to as digital media. And what this allows people to do is build more digital humanities, digital history-based projects that may or may not have a mapping component. These students are still required to take a cartography course. They have the option of still doing coursework in geographic information systems, and they are also required to take a course in web designs. We're really training them up so that they can go and work for the local historical society, for example, where they're going to maybe have to maintain the website, design a new exhibit, maintain a small archive, and potentially work the cash register at the gift shop as well. I'm being a little glib, but it's not too far off an accounting historical society, say, in Idaho. So, little tongue-in-cheek, but not entirely. This past academic year, we had 5 students enrolled full-time in our program, 2 enrolled part-time, and of those 5 full-time students, 4 of them were in their second year. All 4 graduated. Most of them even walked at our graduation. It was a very exciting spring to have everybody kind of finish up their projects and succeed in their program. Dan, you were on one of those committees, weren't you? I can't remember which one though. That one? No, she's not on this list.
I don't know.
Oh well, Dan was on one of them.
A month ago. So.
Yeah. We sat in a couple dozen defenses all in 1 week. To date, we've graduated in 5 years. We've been in existence 10 students, which is quite exciting when I finally did the math on that the other day. Some of the challenges faced by this is still a very new program. Challenges we've encountered and I think successfully met. Things like funding, we now actually have some in-house for now. Funding lines so that students actually a couple of students a year get a stipend, both as teaching assistants and through grant funding our department has acquired as research assistants, which I'll mention again in a moment. Some of our other challenges have been structural, which is what this photo is actually highlighting. We spent 3 years putting together a joint venture with the Mass Communication Department. Not your average collaboration, mass communication, history, GIS, but we built a 16-seat lab with iMaps that run boot camp, so we're running both a Mac operating system and a Windows operating system on these machines, allowing me to teach cartography using Adobe Creative Suite 5, which is the standard in a mass communication department that emphasizes graphic design. And then on the PC side of those machines, being able to teach using Esri's ArcGIS right now 10. But we are not against MapWindow in our program, which would be the lower photo. This is one of our research assistants who has been funded by one of the NSF grants that Dr. Dan Ames has been involved with, and Russ and Barb and everybody else. And Dave was integral, as far as I understand things, in helping Barbara Stevenson with the MapWindow handbook that particular grant has been working to assemble so that we have some type of guide to help people to understand how to use historical GIS using a form of open source software. So very exciting. Dave is just one of the many graduate students who has been funded by some of these grants that our department colleagues and university colleagues have been able to acquire. So let's talk a